Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, as you guys all know by now, Trump has announced his tariffs on nearly every country on earth. He even imposed tariffs on areas where no human beings live. Yeah, just thousands of penguins. So, this has spurred a meme war online. There are just memes coming out about that left and right. And everyone with a functioning brain knows that this is a bad idea, which means the MAGA cult is all for it. Because if Trump says good, then good, it good. If Trump says bad, then so bad, so bad. um, Case in point, Trump posted this on his failing social media site. This is written in all caps, by the way. Quote, the operation is over. The patient lived and is healing. The prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again. 3 exclamation points. So he's talking about the country as the patient. And of course, his cult members were ready with memes. They're praising their apricot antichrist. One of the Kool-Aid drinkers posted this meme of Trump sitting at his desk. He's signing something. And for those on the podcast, it reads, quote, tariffs, not taxes, the golden age of Trump. These people are so wildly uninformed. They don't understand that tariffs are a tax. They are essentially a tax on every single thing we buy when you impose these blanket tariffs across the board, like Trump just did, exactly what he just did. And some other dull bulb had replied with this next meme, which says, quote, the question no Democrat can answer. If tariffs are so bad for an economy, why do 170 countries have tariffs on US products? Perhaps try using critical thinking skills instead of anti Trump rhetoric. They're telling us to use critical thinking skills. So let me be the first Democrat to answer this for you. Okay. Apparently, they think this is such a gotcha, right? First of all, the US already has tariffs on other countries. Tariffs are not a bad thing across the board. They're not just, or I mean, if you do them across the board, they're a bad thing, but they're not just overall evil and bad, right? We have them on certain countries for certain items, but you cannot just blanket tariff everything because there are certain products and materials we simply cannot make or grow in the US. You know, you can't just all of a sudden, start growing huge amounts of coffee in the US as they do in other countries. There's certain materials that we can't just pull out of our asses. I mean, and you can't just make a manufacturing plant or a certain type of farm appear overnight. It takes time to grow things. It takes time to build things. So all of these people parroting Trump's statement that, oh, there's going to be some short-term pain, but in the long run, we're going to be okay. They have no freaking clue what they're talking about. Trump is receiving some pushback, though, I will say. He's receiving some pushback from some Trump voters. So first, I'm going to share the more mild criticisms on Truth Social. Of course, when they're talking directly to him, they, tap dance around and they're so gentle with his little ego. And then I'm going to share the more brutal remarks from Reddit. So this first man wrote, quote, President Trump, I voted for you 3 times and went to see your incredible rallies both times you came to Sacramento. I trusted your judgment, admired your courage, and supported you with my time and donations to your campaign. Since you took office, my retirement accounts have fallen in value by 47%, and this has me very concerned. Most of my friends and family all are voicing the same worries about their retirement accounts. My holdings are very well diversified, but everything has gone down with little hope of recovery. I believe in sacrificing and doing with less for the greater good, which equates to my four grandchildren. I know fair and balanced trade will benefit the US going forward, but investing in her right now is perilous and very expensive. God bless America. US, US, US. Yeah. Yeah, okay. 47% he's lost, but still just, have to come and hump you a little bit. Anyway, another man replied to Trump with, quote, I hope so, because if the stock market continues to fall and prices rising, the Republicans will be blamed. The Dems will win the midterms and proceed to block the Trump agenda and impeach, impeach, impeach. I would have preferred tax cuts first, then tariffs. This is a huge gamble. Fingers crossed emoji. Then another Truth Social user told Trump, quote, I voted for you, but today you destroyed me. I could not be more disappointed in you. The next negative comment said, quote, I sure hope you know what you're doing, sir. My wife and I are retired and living on Social Security and a little 401k. Everything still seems way too expensive. Will this bring down the cost of living for us? No, no, it will not. Let me answer that for him. And then a woman replied to Trump and told him, quote, Hi, President Trump. I'm really trying to keep a stiff upper lip, so to speak, with this tariff policy. However, I'm retired and my IRA is taking a terrible hit. I will pray that you will succeed, and deep in my heart, I know you will. But I am hoping my entire retirement fund won't be wiped out before this comes to fruition. Love you, Mr. President. Heart emoji. Yeah. Okay. She's so sure he's going to do it for her. Over on Reddit, the comments were more harsh and, a little bit more like realistic, I guess you could say, about what's going on here. So a moderate conservative posted in part, quote, this is a completely idiotic move, which at minimum will cause short term stress in the economy. And for what? The economy has recovered pretty decent given the circumstances of the past 5 years and Biden's presidency. Another conservative wrote in part, quote, the US's problems are legion, and tariffs can be a tool in the kit, but we need to know what problem we're solving. Celebrating quote unquote Liberation Day without knowing what the end goal is just the type of behavior that earns the cult label unironically. And then a Reddit user that refers to himself as a grumpy conservative, he wrote, quote, people don't want to go through recession, watch their retirements collapse in value, and see prices go up for literally everything, all for the promise that companies will spend several years building new mines and factories here and that the prices will totally come down well after Trump is out of office. And then he goes on to point out that Trump's commerce secretary admitted that no, this isn't actually going to create jobs and robots are going to be used instead. And then he warned about how the Democrats could retake the House in the midterms and the White House in 2028 if the economy doesn't recover by then. Mm-hmm. Another conservative who calls himself America First stated, quote, I don't care. And most people won't when their 401ks lost that much money. This is a lose lose situation for the average American who could care less about the optics because no amount of money gained in the government revenue is going to offset their private losses. And then someone who calls himself a Thomas Massey conservative replied to this person with, quote, yes, the people who are going to feel this the most are lower and middle class. It's basically an anti-growth regressive or recessive tax due to a misunderstanding of international trade. A bunch of people also were trying to offer historical context. They started offering facts regarding how high US tariffs had previously tanked the US economy and exacerbated the Great Depression. And then one Reddit user who said that they're a former Democrat, this person wrote in part, quote, I support all of Trump's other policies, but these big across the board tariffs he proposed are a killer. Looks like we all get to watch our portfolios free fall again. I'm personally down $95,000 on this tariff shit since he took office. And then another user and quote unquote freedom conservative posted, quote, it's dumb and you won't convince me it isn't. Then I will leave you with this one. So over on Twitter, a woman tagged Trump and she told him, quote, American businesses like ours with 80 to 100% of suppliers overseas and no US options are at risk. We're supply chain expats in Taiwan who invested our retirement here. The 34% tariffs threaten our survival. We voted for you, believing in America first. Please consider us. Reciprocal trade is key, but some US companies won't make it. And she signed off with their names, and then she wrote, strong supporters. So as of market close today, the Dow had dropped 1,600 points. I'll remind you, Trump said about Obama that if the stock market dropped, I think he said more than 12 or 1,300 points over a 2-day period that they should resign. So, yeah. Bye-bye, Trump. Pack your bags. Say farewell. Au revoir. Wiedersehen. But anyway, the Orlando Sentinel likened this stock market crash to a COVID-like shock. But when Trump was asked about this, when he was asked about the stock market and how things are going, this is what he said. He said, quote, I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom. The stock is going to boom. The country's going to boom. And the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. And many years we've been at the wrong side of the ball. And I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. Yeah, it's all going to boom, guys. All I want to do is zoom, a zoom, 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 and a boom, boom. Maybe he was listening to that song. It was just stuck in his head. Now, what is it with this? Surgery. It's a patient. I performed the surgery. The patient lived. What is with all this stuff? Like, who put this in his head? Anyway, here is my take. This may just save the country, but not in the way that Trump thinks it will. Let me explain. A Republican senator, who you all may know here in the US, some of you abroad may not know of him, but Senator Rand Paul, he pointed out to a reporter, quote, historically, tariffs have decimated the Republican Party that supported them. And then he mentioned the various times throughout history when the Republican Party enacted tariffs, and he said, quote, They were decimated for 60 years. The Republicans did not control the House or the Senate for 60 years after the Smoot-Hawley tariff. So I would argue that tariffs, particularly at least for recession, are devastating politically. Yeah. So I quite agree with him the way Trump is doing this. And here's the thing, because a lot of people, mostly on the right, are saying, oh, well, he's just doing this because he's trying to get other countries to negotiate. And he's trying to, bring them to the table to give us better terms or blah, blah, blah. So a couple thoughts on that. First of all, even if that's true, the damage is done. Like you can't unring this bell because companies right now are scrambling as I speak to come up with a plan of how they're going to get supplies, how they're going to manufacture things here, how they're going to reprice everything. I mean, this is causing upheaval. And the amount of money that has now been lost in the stock market, it's not just affecting wealthy people. It is affecting people's 401ks and average people's retirement IRA accounts. So, and when things drop, they don't always come back to the level where they were. And when you have this amount of uncertainty in the market, which we keep hearing that term over the last couple months, people are afraid. People go, okay, yeah, he's made a deal with, country X, but is he now done with the tariffs? Is he going to put them back on? I mean, he keeps taking them off, putting them back on. No, I'm going to do this amount. No, I'm going to do that amount. I mean, the guy can't stick with anything. So nobody knows what to do. Everybody's afraid. And when people are afraid, they stop. They just freeze. And so the economy will suffer as a result of this, even if he took these tariffs off today, even if he's decided tomorrow, no, I decided I'm not doing the tariffs anymore, because everybody's still going, okay, well, you said that a month ago. And then you said that a few weeks before. And so we don't trust you anymore. We don't know what you're going to do because you are so unpredictable. You can be unpredictable in other ways, and it may be beneficial. When it comes to the US economic atmosphere, everybody counts on predictability. Everybody wants predictability. The markets thrive with predictability. When you are unsure, when everybody is nervous and it's this chaos in the air, that is devastating. So the damage is done. And then I also heard someone else posit the idea that Trump is really just doing this as a power play, that he is doing this because now he can have all these lobbyists in DC, which we know are there and make a ton of money. He can now play the game with all of these companies and all of these different entities and even countries that he wants something from. Oh, you want to carve out for your particular industry? You want to carve out for your particular company or your country? What are you going to do for me? Right? What kind of deal are you going to make me for me? What are you going to buy from me? Do you want to maybe buy some stock in DJT, for Truth Social, which is flailing? Do you want to maybe invest in this, new business that I have going? Do you maybe want to, just hand over money to me? Just give me money. Do you want to buy one of my properties? So, yeah, that is a very likely scenario that he is going to use this, which is so funny that his base thinks that he's all about ending corruption and draining the swamp. That's who he is. He's the biggest swamp creature ever to walk the earth. So, yeah, like I said, the silver lining is that maybe he does destroy the Republican Party. Maybe this will finally undermine their credibility so much. And we're going to see how they react because in the Senate, I don't know if you guys heard this, but in the Senate, about a handful of Republicans have sided with the Democrats and they have voted on something to try to stop Trump from enacting these tariffs because legally, constitutionally, they are the ones that have the power to say yes or no on tariffs. Trump is using an end run and trying to use an excuse to get around that, but that's not the way things work. The problem is, even though that, it passes in the Senate, as you all know, then it has to pass the House. Well, the House is like herding cats with the Republicans because there's so many of them who are full on MAGA and who can't see the forest for the trees and really believe in him and think that he is this brilliant businessman. I still believe that. It's so funny. They seriously don't realize that he's just this Nepo baby who, has failed his entire life, failed up his entire life. So who knows what's going to happen there? But now, they're going to be front and center. They're going to have to make a decision. They're either going to side with Trump and let him destroy the economy, or they're going to have to side with their constituents and do what's right for them. Where there's a catch, where there's an issue, is that so much of Trump's base, as I've showed you, still believes in him, still thinks that he knows what he's doing, and they still think he's a smart businessman. So they're pressuring their Congress members, their House members, and even people in the Senate to stick with him and go along with whatever he wants. So they're in a real pickle. Either let the economy crash and then pay the price in the midterms and in the next presidential election, or do what their base is asking them to. Or defy their base, defy what their base is asking them to do, and actually do what's right for them, even though they don't know it. Make them eat their broccoli before you give them their candy. Anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting. A lot of people are going to be hurt, so don't mean to laugh at the carnage, but it may actually help the Democrats in a big way, bigly. All right, guys, I will let you know when I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.